this video, we will talk about the formats that are required for the questions of company accounts. So, we will discuss the format for income statements, the statement of changes in equity or statement of retained profits, and statement of financial position. So, basically, there are two formats. Okay, so let's start with the format for income statement. It is similar to that what we used for the sole trader to create the accounts for the sole trader. So revenue or sales less cost of sales, and that will give you gross profit. Okay, so we will add other income to our gross profit. We'll get total income. Now we will subtract operating expense from our total income. Now what is operating expense? It's all of the expenses except for the finance cost, which are the tax or the interest on loan. So everything except that is included in the operating expense. So we will get operating profit or we can call this profit from operations. Okay, so after calculating the operating expense, we will subtract the finance cost, which includes the interest and tax, and then we will get the profit for the year. Okay, so now we'll discuss the statement of change in equity. So there are basically two formats for doing so. So the first format is that after calculating profit for the year, we the retained earnings from the previous year. Retained earnings are basically your profit less the dividend paid or the transfer to the general reserve from the previous year. So this amount is basically from the last year's statement of changes in equity. After that, we will subtract the dividends paid, and we will also subtract if we transfer our profit to general reserve. So this will give you the retained profit for the year, which will be used in our equity section after making all of these adjustments, and this amount will also be used in the statement of changes in equity for the next year, as I mentioned before, that the retained earnings. Okay, so now we'll move on to the statement of financial position, and I'll only cover the equity section because the assets and the liabilities, the format for both of them are similar to that of the sole trader. So the only difference is the equity section. So share capital, or we can also call this ordinary share capital. We'll add share premium, revaluation reserve, general reserve, and retained earnings for this year. So I have explained the descriptions of all of this in one of the videos. You can scroll back and check that out. So this is a very straightforward and simple format, and you just have to remember all of this. And the question will usually give you all of the amounts for this, and this. You just have to calculate the amount for the retained earnings, which is actually the statement of changes in equity that I explained before. So that's the retained profit or retained earnings for the year. So you just have to calculate this. After calculating the profit for the year, you'll add the retained earnings from the previous year, less the dividend paid in this year, less the transfer to the general reserve, and you'll get the retained earnings. You'll